Oh, good. You're already here.
What do you mean already here?
Because we were going to do the movie review. We're going to talk about it.
Nope, yep, the movie review, yes.
Have you not
the
seen
Fantastic Beasts, the Crimes of Grindelwald, I have most definitely seen that movie. Sit, it's fine, everything's fine. We will do this. Just give me one moment.
Okay. Rude. What was she reading? Memories. What?
I'm here.
Nothing.
What?
Nothing.
Oh, I'm here. I've been here this whole time. Never was I gone. Waiting on you.
Okay.
Eddie Redmayne returns in Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald as Newt Scamander, the absent-minded Hufflepuff wizard. In this second installment of the Fantastic Beasts series, Grindelwald has escaped custody and is moving to put into place his true agenda, for pureblood wizards to take their place at the top of the wizarding hierarchy. In an effort to put a stop to this evil man's evil plans, Albus Dumbledore enlists Newt's help to take down the devious Grindelwald before he succeeds in dividing the wizarding world with his dark wizardly ways. So, James, what did you think of this movie?
We should probably preface this by saying we came directly here from seeing it. It's a Friday night at the end of what's been a long day, and for me at least, a very long week.
Yes.
So maybe I just wasn't in the right headspace, but there are a lot of things about this movie that didn't fit together for me. It's always fun to go back to J.K. Rowling's and David Yates in particular's, established wizarding world. Great special effects, the aesthetic, the way the movie feels is in line with what we've experienced in this world before, and I really like that. But in terms of the story, without getting spoilery, there's a lot going on, and I haven't had enough time to figure out if it all makes sense in the end, or if some of it's just... Cady!
Yes?
What did you think?
I think I was in a pretty good headspace to have seen this movie. My week was also pretty long, but after other movies that we've seen in the past, I've learned to kind of just go at it to enjoy the movie and not expect too much from it. I did actually only just recently see the first Fantastic Beasts, maybe a couple weeks ago. Yep. And I loved being back in the wizarding world. I missed it quite a lot. It's been a while since I've marathoned the Harry Potter films. And, it was enjoyable to kind of meet new characters, but the story held nothing for me. And in this one, again, I feel like just, as you said, so much was going on. It was kind of hard to, find a cohesive movie.
Yeah, and not a lot was explained.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's a movie.
So, before we delve into spoiler territory, we'll do the usual thing, talk casting. We'll get a little fun surprise tonight. I've taken the liberty of taking all of our main cast members, basically everyone who appeared on one of the character posters, and written them down. And we're gonna have a little game of pull slips of paper out of a hat.
Gosh darn, that's my favorite hat-based game.
Really? Mine's don't touch my hat or I kill you.
That's a pretty good one too.
And we got our nice little themed hat here.
I sort of was expecting that.
Get out. Would you like to go first? Do the honors?
I would. I don't know why I closed my eyes.
Make sure you can grab two. I'm not sure I got them all.
I got one.
Apart.
Callum Turner, who is Theseus Scamander, the brother to Newt Scamander. I don't think I've seen him in anything else. He looked vaguely familiar, but I imagine it's just kind of in that British way where I'm sure I've seen him in something that I've watched. Victor Frankenstein he was in.
Which I haven't seen either. I wrote it down because I had heard of it. And when I haven't seen anything that they're in, I at least write things down that maybe Cady's seen, maybe.
No, I mean, that's a good call. That's totally the type. But no, I haven't.
My turn. I have Eddie Redmayne, the...
Never heard of him.
Well, I was gonna say the star, but he's really not. Again, not getting too spoilery. He's not nearly the major player that he is in the first Fantastic Beasts. He's great as Newt Scamander. I mean, I have no problem with the character or how Redmayne portrays him. Obviously, Redmayne's a very accomplished actor. Danish Girl, Oscar nomination, I think. Theory of Everything, won an Oscar. But then again, he was also the villain in Jupiter Ascending, which we all know is probably one of the worst movies ever made.
I still haven't seen that one. That's okay. Dan Folger?
Like the coffee?
Dan Fogler?
Dan Fogler, yep.
Dan Fogler was Jacob, the sidekick, I guess.
The Nomad,
the best friend.
The Nomad from the
there
first
we go.
one, yeah.
The Nomad. He was in The Goldbergs, which I have not seen.
He's a recurring character. He plays the father of the main family's brother. Shows up every Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm.
And apparently in Walking Dead currently, which I stopped watching seasons ago because it traumatized me.
Yep, I stopped recently too, so that was a surprise for me.
But one of my favorite characters in this film.
Yeah. He had a little bit more of a role than he did in the last one, kind of. In the last one, he was just kind of the straight man. He was there to, so that people have an excuse to explain things to him.
Yeah.
But now he's actually part of the world, and he kind of drives the story at moments. Catherine Waterston, daughter of the famous Sam Waterston.
Right. From
Law and Order, Grace and Frankie.
Never seen it.
You would absolutely recognize this actor.
Okay.
He's the guy from the original Law and Order. He was on it for
Okay, that I probably know who that is.
She is American-born, but I guess she's playing an American character, so that's not really an issue. Anyway, she plays Tina Goldstein. Tina Goldstein, another returning character from the last one, an Auror. I feel like she maybe had a little bit more of an arc in this, but not. No, I guess not. Not really.
Very weird movie.
Yeah, she was fine as Tina. She more or less felt like the same character from the last one. I mean, she was, she had a similar personality, but again, it's really hard to do some of these without getting too spoilery. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't say I've ever seen her in anything else, even though I have Steve Jobs written down here.
Piece of paper. It's what I've always wanted.
Well, you're in luck.
Jude Law, who plays...
Jude Law?
Jude Law?
Never heard of him.
He's not been in a lot. He was Albus Dumbledore, young Albus Dumbledore. He's been in many things. Sherlock Holmes.
But never in this before, even though the character is technically one we've seen before.
Yes. Sherlock Holmes, other things which I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's been in
Incredible Mr. Ripley, Gattaca.
Gattaca? Oh man, he was in...
He was the other guy.
Yeah,
he was the one that wasn't Ethan Hawke. The guy Ethan Hawke wanted to be. That was in a wheelchair, if I recall correctly.
Weird. Anyway.
But yes.
Yes, as Dumbledore. I don't think it's too spoilery to say that I did notice a few things with his accent where he pitched certain words to kind of match the elder Dumbledore, which was a nice touch.
You could kind of tell there was a little bit of an effort.
Yeah.
Like he watched at least Michael Gambon. Mm-hmm. And sort of got a feel for how he spoke and things like that. It was,
Which, I mean, he's a good actor. He'd do things like that.
Ezra Miller, the Flash himself from those movies nobody cares about. Returning as Credence Barebone, the sort of almost an antagonist in the last one. And we'll say an antagonistic entity. Aside from the aforementioned DC movie universe, I don't think I've ever seen him in anything outside of this world. I think he's fine. I don't think the character has enough time to really get a lot of face time, to really get a sense. But he plays the character well enough. Yeah. It's just there's so much else going on.
It's amazing what getting rid of the bowler cut too does.
Oh yeah, geez, he's so much more handsome.
He looks completely different.
In the last one, he had a literal bowl cut, bowl on the head cut, And it was just so distracting whenever he was on camera. They fixed that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, for like literally the first time I saw him on screen, I had a moment of, wait, who's that? Oh, right, okay. Because completely different look. Johnny Depp.
Who?
He was in this movie as Gellert. I don't think I've ever seen his first name before. Gellert.
Did you not
Grindelwald.
read Deathly Hallows?
I mean, I did.
So you've seen it. You may have
That's
forgotten
fair.
it.
I forgot it.
You skipped those words.
Yes, I think so. Yes, Johnny Depp, who has been in literally everything. He's
to
been
the
in
point
lots of stuff.
that it's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Your opinion on this actually matters, Cady. Because you were really... I mean, I was too, but you...
So I had heard, before I saw the first film, I had heard that he was going to be in the second film. And I was a little bit disappointed because I don't want to call myself like a movie purist, but like I don't like when certain...
I'm not sure how that applies here anyway.
Well, no, but I mean, I don't... And it's happened with other things too, where certain actors will suddenly appear in like a franchise that I have loved for years, and I'm like, don't be in that. And I was not very excited about him being in it. And then I saw the first one, and he was in the end of it, so that was great.
Well, Johnny Depp was played by Colin Farrell for most of the first one, so...
Yeah. But, I mean, so that was fine. But I don't know. He was in this one too, it was fine.
I didn't hate him as much as I expected to.
Same, actually.
Yeah, like, I think we both went in expecting another Jack Sparrow, Mad Hatter, frickin' Willy Wonka, quirky...
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, excuse me.
The character he was playing was Willy Wonka.
That's one of those things.
That's why I specified. I didn't say the whole movie. But yes, you see what I'm saying, is the character was a lot more subdued than we've... I mean, obviously Johnny Depp is capable of playing dramatic roles.
Yes,
it's just, ever since Pirates of the Caribbean, he's been like, character actor, quirky, whatever. And it was nice to see him not shoehorned like that. Mm. I'm still not sure I loved his presence, but it could have been way worse.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
The one other thing that kind of bugs me about Johnny Depp as Grindelwald is just that this series has been so good about casting only British actors as British characters. They more or less maintain that now. I don't know what the fake Colin Farrell was supposed to be in the last movie.
From New York.
But one of the things that just kind of bugged me about Johnny Depp getting cast in the first place was just that he was playing Gellert Grindelwald, who, at the very least, is not American. And Johnny Depp is American. And they've been so good about that attention to detail. I double-checked last night to make sure that the guy who played Victor Crumb and the head of Durmstrang were both from Eastern Europe. Oh, yeah. And they were. And, Fleur Delacour, played by a French actress. They're very, very good about that kind of stuff. And Johnny Depp, it just seemed like, we got Johnny Depp. We have to cast him.
Going for the name.
So.
Which, that's a large part of the reason, too, that I was disappointed initially. But again... all right.
Alison Sudol as Queenie Goldstein, a character that I really liked in the first movie. She was kind of a mellow, 60 years too early hippie. She's actually more. In researching, I found that she's actually done a lot more in terms of like producing music for soundtracks.
Really?
I guess she's a singer. She's done soundtrack for... She did a song in How I Met Your Mother. She did a soundtrack in House. Numerous other things. I literally couldn't even find another acting role that I'd seen her in. I know Transparent is a show that exists, and she appeared in it at least once. But yes, in this, there are some definite problems with her character, for me at least, and her arc. And yeah, we'll definitely get into it more once we've passed spoiler warning.
Yes. Zoe Kravitz, the daughter of Lenny Kravitz, I do believe.
Yes, she is indeed.
Returning to an extent as Leta Lestrange.
Yep.
Returning as Leta Lestrange. Oh, she was in X-Men First Class. I don't think I recalled that. I've seen that movie once.
She played Angel Salvatore.
Can't even recall who that was.
The stripper with dragonfly wings.
Oh, okay.
That spits fire.
Sure. She existed. I, again, saw the movie the one time. It was in the Divergent series.
All right, well, with that out of the way, we should probably warn you that we're not going to hesitate to get into spoiler territory moving forward, so if you're worried about such things, you probably shouldn't be watching this, but if you insist, you can skip to the time code that I might remember to put somewhere in the lower half of the screen.
So, and it could just, again, be because I haven't watched a movie in this series for quite some time.
Other than Fantastic Beasts 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but... the Wizarding World logo, like the actual, like, has that always been up like there? Because that's actually the logo from, like, the park.
Oh, no, I think that is now a blanket term for the extended Harry Potter universe, like MCU, but for Harry Potter, which it makes sense for them to have a blanket term. Why should this entire universe be named after one kid that's not even alive yet in these movies?
Yeah, it's the first time I've noticed it.
I think
it's weird.
I think it's the branding for the whole universe as it stands now.
A lot of my notes, as I kind of look through them too, are very like reactionary, not necessarily about specific moments, because there was so much happening, so many different storylines that were kind of all trying to connect together.
Yep.
And I mean, a couple of them they left open because there are going to be more movies, and that's totally understandable. But it made it so hard for me to kind of connect to the story initially. Mm-hmm. I mean, I noticed a few like interesting little like connections in the beginning where when Grindelwald is first in his cell and you see his little lizard dude.
I wrote, why would you leave him with his familiar? That's Wizarding 101.
Yeah. But they said they cut his tongue out and then the lizard shot his tongue out and got the fly wing or whatever.
Yeah,
it just,
that did happen.
Little, like, I don't want to, not poetic, but like little things like that are the kind of thing I notice and
of course, the movie showed me up almost immediately after I wrote that because that thing was clearly not as familiar because he hurled it out of a flying vehicle.
Yeah, yeah.
So, it was a cute little animal, though.
It was to show that he gave no shits about anything.
Oh, I know. It established him very early on. So,
mm-hmm.
It was a cool opening scene, too. I mean, like, I was a little confused as to what the hell was going on, but I can't deny that the visuals and the intensity and the way it was shot in the computer, mostly, it was intriguing.
Animated.
It was exciting. I still don't exactly know how he escaped and the other guy.
Was it Polyjuice Potion or was it a spell?
Oh, I assume it was Polyjuice Potion. It's pretty well established that that's the way that people turn into other people in this universe. I mean, I
feel like in this case though, a spell would have made more sense if. Well, I guess they said they switching out guards. I don't know, just for it to wear off of both of them at the same time.
The guy was there talking to him in the first place, and why would they? Like, how did they pull it off? Like, how did the guy get in there to switch places with him?
Well, actually, so with Polyjuice Potion, and I wasn't maybe paying attention enough at the time, but with Polyjuice Potion, they keep their voice. Like, it's just their it's just the body that changes. So, I mean, I don't think that was Johnny Depp speaking when he was like, "Oh, here's the case."
No. That's a good point. The point is, and this sort of sets the stage for a lot of the things that I imagine we're going to talk about, is that it wasn't very well explained, but it was exciting.
Yeah.
You know. I don't necessarily need everything spelled out for me, but it does raise a lot of questions, and I just want to make sure that they're not oversights.
Yeah. Well, then, because
versus
later when Newt had Polyjuice Potion, they made it obvious too that it was still his voice. I don't know. It's just a thing. I wrote it down. It was that much. I was like, "What's going on?"
There's a moment fairly early on when Dumbledore doing his Dumbledore thing. Instead of dimming the lights with a magical street darkener, He's on the roof meeting with Newt, telling him that he needs Newt's help to move against Grindelwald. And then did he pull out a device or was it just his wand? He made the entire town foggy. And I was just like, that's like level 18. That's like a level 9 spell in D&D. This is how I think of things in like magic in terms of Dungeons and Dragons.
I think it was just his wand because it was one word.
But the point is, that's insanely powerful. Like, Dumbledore here is 70 years younger, or 60 years younger than when we saw him. He's still middle-aged, because Dumbledore died when he was like 170-something. Don't quote me on that. I'm not an expert. I just know he was older than a normal human being lives to. Anyway, But yeah, it's just it. I almost feel like it robbed for me the idea of a young Dumbledore, just because it's like he's already so goddamn powerful. Why was there any conflict later on anyway?
Because he took an oath.
I didn't mean in this movie. I just meant
later.
Why didn't he just? Because he likes to. I know he sees the good in people, even when there is none to be seen.
He learned that he can't always just do things. He has to let people learn their own thing.
That is horseshit.
Plot device. My next note is just about that same scene. Still manipulating people, good old Dumby, because that's like what he likes to do.
And yet he's supposed to be one of the good guys.
Literally, the scene where he and Newt were in that bus, and they were like, he said,
take this.
He says some of those lines maybe in different orders to Harry Potter, like later on.
Yeah,
I don't trust anyone else to help me with this.
But I can't tell you why.
Yeah.
At least him avoiding Harry in Order of the Phoenix makes sense, because you find out later on that if he told him, then it could have been a. So, but I mean, who knows? Maybe there's a reason that he can't be completely straight with Newt, or maybe he's just being Dumbledore.
Good old Dumby. So this may be backtracking just a tiny bit.
That's fine.
I have written down. Oh shit! Did the thing Halloween didn't do kill the baby?
Yeah. At least one baby dies in this movie. I mean, you don't really see it exactly.
I mean, a door closes and you see the green of a killing curse, so it's very explicitly.
Oh shit! Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Oh crap! I was thinking about the one in the water.
Oh yes.
Yeah, you're right. No, yeah, a baby, a toddler even. It's a little bigger. It's straight up murdered. I mean, again, we don't see it. Maybe she was just casting a dancing lights spell
to entertain.
Yeah, exactly. You got to keep the kid entertained. But yeah, no, there's baby murder.
Yeah, Halloween wouldn't even do that.
And even Halloween, which sadly we did not have time to sit down and talk about a few weeks ago, but we did see and enjoyed. I think.
So much stress.
Yeah, it again kind of set the tone a little bit. Grindelwald is all business, and yeah. I mean, obviously, it didn't make as much of an impact on me because I kill babies all the time, so it's like
to each his own. I think this is the third time I've written down so many stories at the same time.
Just from this movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Literally.
I didn't know if it was. I didn't know if it was since we started doing these, and there were other movies that.
No. I have written down in my notes that I haphazardly took during the movie for the second time.
It's true.
So many stories at once, which normally, I can. Anyway.
Yeah. Actually, on that note, let's just take a minute and see if we can piece together. We had Newt. We had Newt. And,
So we had Newt trying to win back...
Lita.
No.
Oh, no, you're right, Tina. We
had Newt trying to win back Tina, which I guess sort of goes hand in hand with Jacob trying to win back Queenie, or trying to track Queenie down at one point.
Yeah.
We have the whole...
there's
Grindelwald versus Dumbledore,
and
suggested.
And then Credence is seeking his identity the whole time, and he interacts with Lestrange and Grindelwald at some point, and yeah.
And then there is that whole Newt and his brother. What?
Oh, Newt and his brother. Yes.
Newt and his brother, and what's
and then Credence and his
Lestrange.
brother. We didn't even talk about that guy. He had actually had a pretty meaty role.
Yeah.
The other Lestrange.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yep. And and he was traveling around with the Asian acrobat Nagini, which we can talk about in a minute. But yeah, there were a solid 5 stories that sort of split apart in the first half of the first act.
And I'm one who I can follow stories
and they came together
usually,
in the last 10 minutes of the last act, and it was confusing, and again, not a lot was explained. There were a lot of moments where I was just
waiting for the one thing to kind of make the other
to
thing
tie everything
sense.
Together, and the only thing that did was that they all ended up in the same place. And they were
I have written down. I know exactly what part it is. Literally, all I have is Gandalf's fireworks.
Here we go. Okay. Oh yeah.
At the circus, the wizard circus.
Speaking of the circus,
yes.
Which, if I cut there, that she was just speaking of it. A lot of I noted. I wondered just from a historical standpoint, I was curious if there is some sort of pre-existing relationship in the... I mean, the last movie took place in 1926, so I assume this takes place in the late 20s, maybe the early 30s.
It was months later.
Oh, 3 months later from Grindelwald's breakout. We don't know how long he was in possession.
I feel like they mentioned it.
They said 3 months later after the first scene. So
right, but then later when he was talking to his brother... Okay.
The point is, it wasn't that long, I imagine.
Yeah.
And I'm, I was wondering if there was some sort of historical connection between France and whatever East Asian country. It might have been Vietnam, because there are a decent amount of Asians at that circus, and I was just curious if there was any sort of historical relevance to that choice, or if it was just inclusion.
Happenstance, yeah.
But related to that, the circus is where we meet the maledictus Nagini, who is a young East Asian woman. He did say what country she was from, but I don't recall. Also a maledictus, which in the Harry Potter universe is they're all women and they are cursed to turn. I'm not sure if they're all cursed to turn into a specific animal or if they all turn into snakes.
I think it's dependent on the curse. He said at one point.
But the point is, her name is Nagini. She does turn into a snake at night, and she will ultimately turn into a snake for the rest of her life, if the ringmaster is to be believed.
Yes. And
those details all seem to be a little bit too specific to ignore.
The snake that she ended up becoming was exactly how Nagini.
Oh, absolutely! It was the same species of snake, whatever it was.
Python.
It was. I did right here. That was a cool effect how she transformed.
Oh,
into
yeah,
snake.
yeah.
She's like wrapped on herself. I did write down the actress that played her. She was Dr. Cho in Age of Ultron.
She was. That's why she looked familiar.
Yep. And yeah.
I knew her from something.
This is a perfect lead into something that was very much on my mind for the majority of the film. Something that I call Star Wars prequel syndrome.
A literal prequel issue of no real risk.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean that they're knowing that Dumbledore doesn't die. I mean, is a thing, but also this need to like shoehorn in things that we already know to remind us, or it's like, oh look, it's all connected. And as a fan of the MCU, that might sound a little bit hypocritical. And sometimes even in things I love, it's a little bit heavy-handed. And in this movie, there were a lot of things.
I don't want to quite say that it was on the same level of like just straight up fan service, but it was like toe in the line.
Yeah. I mean, each individual one, with the exception of Nagini, which I have certain issues with that I'll get to in a second. Each individual one wasn't a big... Okay, they bring back Dumbledore. Okay, that's fine. This is a story about a young Dumbledore. That's fine. We're learning about Gellert Grindelwald, who honestly was very poorly explained. Because, he'd been dead for God knows how long in the original books, and I was always kind of curious. I'm a little surprised that the Deathly Hallows haven't been mentioned yet, even though he was definitely holding the Master Wand. I don't know if you noticed that. Yeah. But we got Nicholas Flamel, who... He was mentioned in the first book. He died soon after. Because he's like 1 trillion years old. He didn't need to be in there. But if it had just been him and a young Dumbledore, whatever. But there were other examples. I know I had them.
Well, I mean, it was kind of a cool thing, because if this is what gets kids into the Harry Potter thing, like this is their first introduction, there was that cool little like Easter egg of like he opened the cupboard and there was the Philosopher's Stone sitting right there.
Yeah, but that's subtle. That's something that only someone like you... I didn't even notice.
Oh, well.
But the Nicholas Flamel thing, it's very clear. I'm Nicolas Flamel. I mean, he at least has the accent, I guess. But it's just, there were other examples I know that I was thinking of, but I'm sure I wrote them down here, but I don't feel like sifting through it. But the Nagini thing in particular, if that is in fact the same Nagini that we know, maybe the Nagini we know is named after her. It's possible. Oh, McGonagall.
Huh.
Now, I'm not an expert on the Harry Potter universe, but I understand that at least the going theory as to how old McGonagall is supposed to be does not match up with this. This is just something that I read.
Oh, I'm not...
in preparation for this movie. It may have actually been in response to like an early screening or something I saw. It probably warrants more looking into on my part, but we're filming right now and it's really late. So, but yes, if this is the Nagini that we know, it just there's something lost for me a little bit in terms of her relationship with Voldemort.
Yeah.
Because the only creature that he seemed to even come close to, like, loving in the traditional sense, like we as human beings do with each other, is that snake. And in some ways, if the snake used to be a beautiful woman, okay, that sort of humanizes him. But at the same time, the fact that the only thing he could connect with was this animal.
Well, he connected...
not just any animal, a snake.
He connected with the animal because part of his soul was in it.
Oh, I know, but that's my point, he was supposed to be devoid of compassion and humanity. So the fact that he was only able to relate to this thing, this eyelidless, one of the low animals, if you go with, religious symbolism and stuff like that, the lowest, really. It makes him a little bit more human, and that could be good, but it could also be bad, and it's kind of problematic. The point is, I don't think it needed to be Nagini. That's all. That one in particular just kind of bugged me.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see if in the next movie it ties in somehow that would have made it need to be. Yeah. I think most of my things from this point on get just kind of silly. Like when Newt is kind of recreating the thing to like see what's going on, he like gets down at one point and like licks the ground to like. I'm like, he's literally. And I made this comment. I made this comment in the first one where he reminded me a lot of the 11th Doctor. He's literally just the Doctor. He's
a very Doctor Who-ish character. Doesn't hurt that he's wearing a TARDIS blue coat. Yeah, that
was more of like a 10th Doctor thing, but still, like it reinforced that. And it was just a silly thing that happened. That was another thing. Just the double agent thing, the swap. It just was super predictable. Yeah. Like once it got to a certain point, I was like, well, this is going to happen.
Wait, which are you referring to? Which are you referring to?
The switch. Queenie at the end. Going with Grindelwald.
How is that a double agent thing?
Well, not. I mean, swapping sides. Like she started
okay, because
I
was going to agree with that because I think.
And then who else was it?
Lita.
Yeah, Lita was the.
But that felt the Queenie thing. They had an adequate explanation, but it didn't feel earned at all. Well, at the beginning, we get the whole thing where she wants to have a kid and get married, and Jacob's concerns are completely legitimate. At least, I mean, I understand her side of it. But then, all of a sudden, this charismatic leader comes in, and she's like the sweetest person up to this point.
So, part of that, and I was thinking about it too, like on the drive, she has the mind reading thing, and that witch kind of turned it off.
That's a good point.
So once she couldn't read other people's thoughts and empathize with it.
Is that what happened?
Yeah,
that was never clear to me.
She was sitting there holding her head, and the woman came up to her, and all the voices just stopped.
That's what happened. Okay, yeah. I was unclear on that. Okay, that actually makes a lot more sense, and actually adds a level of depth to it. So I won't say I backpedaled entirely, but I need to rewatch it now. That's a stupid pact. We promised never to fight each other. Obviously, Grindelwald and Dumbledore had made a blood oath to each other, like literally forged in blood and like magically bond, like a what are they called? Life bond? The promises, the unbreakable promises.
Oh yes, unbreakable vow.
Vow, that's the one. Like that, but with blood. And I'm just like, does it really need to be this little magic trinket? Can't it just be what it is? I mean, breaking a promise, regardless of whether or not it's magically compelled, is still a shitty thing to do. And they're going out of their way, we have this, so I can't move against him. It could just be because you made him a promise. There doesn't need to be this material object, and just as relevantly, you're doing everything in your power to do it, even though you're not doing it, so it's pointless.
Well, it serves as a physical object for the audience to see that if we can break this, then I get it,
but at the same, at a certain point, I mean, I know it's the Wizarding World, but they are still people. Like, words mean things. I mean, I get reasons for them to do it, and again, we've seen things like the unbreakable vow. It's okay. Magic reinforces what should already be reinforcing it in the first place. So, but it just at a certain point, it almost dehumanizes them a little bit for me.
My last note that I have to address is literally don't care. And I just flashback, so I knew at what point in the movie. The first flashback with when what's her face? Lestrange was a kid. Lita, yeah. Why can't I remember the name Lita? Where she was
because it's not a real name.
A student at Hogwarts. I was like, whatever.
It didn't really add anything for me. It filled in a little bit more of the story, but it was a story that I didn't feel particularly engaged in the first place. And then I think it was supposed to be a twist when she sacrificed herself at the end, but she already, her last name's Lestrange, she must be one of the bad guys. But she already had not portrayed herself in the way that we've come to know the Lestrange family in previous books, movies, whatever. So her personal story resonated with me a little bit for reasons that I'm not going to get into. But yeah, a lot of the things that I think were supposed to be impactful twists just felt a little hollow because there was too much. There was no room for it to marinate.
Deathly hollow.
Speaking of, my response to the last twist, that Credence is in fact Dumbledore's brother, or maybe son.
I don't know. That wasn't clear to me.
They didn't make it clear. They deliberately did not say how he's related, just that his last name is Dumbledore.
I was racking my brain trying to...
And I was like, he's young enough to be Dumbledore's son. Because at first my thought was brother too, because young Dumbledore, so obviously he doesn't have a kid, but he's still old
I was
enough.
Racking my brain to did he have another brother? Because obviously I know.
Yeah, because I don't remember the name he said. Aurelius?
Something like that.
Yeah, I think it was Aurelius Dumbledore, and I don't remember what the brother we've seen before's name is. But I'm guessing it's probably his son. Because that would be unique and interesting and new, but also still feel hollow because I'm just like, I don't what?
Yeah.
It came out of nowhere. I have no reason to believe that there was nothing to. It's a hollow twist because there's no bait where on some even animal brain level you suspected it was just bet you didn't see this coming.
And I guess, to be fair, I didn't, but...
Well, exactly, but that's my point. There was no reason for you to, and it wasn't all that compelling as the final line of the movie.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, okay, he's somehow related to Dumbledore. What does that mean? I'm sure I have a cousin I've never met. What's your point? It should be noted that at one point in this movie, they sort of allude to the fact that maybe the wizards could have prevented World War II or cause it in the future movies in this series. There's literally a shot of a mushroom cloud. The only person who reacts logically is Jacob, the no-mage American, who has no reason to know what a mushroom cloud is at this point in history, but he's still like, oh my god, there's going to be another war, and everyone else is just like,
what is this? But yeah, the whole premise behind that was I don't hate, no mages. I don't hate, non-pure.
But they're going to kill us.
But, they're violent. They're terrible. This is what's going to happen. It literally was like clips of World War II.
Oh, yeah, there was a tank. There was a literal tank in the shot.
Implying that.
Yeah, implying that they're going to be rounded up and holocausted.
Yes.
And it was, not speaking as anyone who's really in any way directly affected by World War II, but it was jarring. Yes. And just as relevantly, it was kind of flimsy in the sense that, from a storytelling standpoint, it feels like they're trying to convince us that Grindelwald is somehow different than Voldemort, and he's really not when you get down to the brass tacks. He's saying different words, but it seems like he's pretty much the same. It felt a little more jarring. He has a nose.
It felt a little more jarring to me too, I think, because they were trying to tie it to actual real world things, and I was like, this is a world completely separate from our reality with magic, and they were like, oh, but also there's the World War happening right beside it.
Well, yes, but that's the thing.
It just felt so weird.
I assume that in the wizarding world, World War II did still happen.
Well, right.
So if we were to find out that it was somehow connected, I'm not saying I couldn't handle that. It's just it came out of nowhere. Well, it's because it's the first time something like that has happened.
It wasn't implying too that it was connected. It was implying that they could have stopped it. It was straight up saying we could have stopped it if we,
if we wiped out all the
muggles and stuff,
or rounded them up.
Yeah, or
which in some ways does kind of resonate with the current political sphere that we're in.
Maybe not even necessarily round them up, just use them, as slave labor, basically.
Yeah. That's how it starts.
Yeah. And it's funny, too, because before we saw the movie, a friend who went with us shared with me that spoiler that he had read somewhere, that it's implied a little bit that, they could have stopped the war, and it's straight up
it's not implied at all.
Yes.
He says the exact words.
Yes. So,
Cady.
Yep.
Would you recommend Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald?
I think for the first time, no. I mean, it's I don't want to say a fun movie. That's a little bit too strong. I mean, it's if you're a fan of Harry Potter, which I definitely am, I mean, it's something that you might want to see anyway. Maybe not in theaters. I probably could have waited just as happily to see it at home. The first one I did see here, and then not in theaters, and that was fine. It's just it was way too jumbled of like an experience to really fully enjoy in theaters. I mean, I did kind of go into it expecting it to not be, well, based on the first one, not expecting anything like too crazy. I actually enjoyed the first one better, more so. But yeah, I think if you were to ask me, hey, should I go see this in theaters, I would say, just wait till it comes out. James, also, that thing that you asked me, accept what you think.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of have to agree. I did not see the first Fantastic Beasts in theaters, and in retrospect, I'm okay with it, but I also feel like it held together as a self-contained movie. That I feel like it was written with no intention of doing sequels necessarily. They were open to the idea, but it worked just by itself. This movie feels completely different. Newt Scamander is not even really the main character. He gets about the same amount of screen time as anyone else. And doesn't have much of an arc. None of them really have much of an arc. It very much feels like the middle part of a threequel, or maybe like just the first part of something. The point is, it's not a complete movie. There's so much going on. They're trying to relate it back to things that we know, and they're trying to set up things that we don't know. And it feels, by the end, you're just gonna be wondering what. And maybe my opinion will change after I see what these things that they were setting up. But for now, I could easily have waited to see it on video. So yeah, I just on the record, I have to say, not really.
Mischief managed.
While that's true in a sense, it doesn't really work in this situation, wouldn't you say?
Agree to disagree.
Okay, well, that about does for this episode.
Yes. And as always, if you liked the video, please do like, comment, subscribe, take out an ad in your local newspaper, rent one of those planes that like writes messages up in the sky, and pretty much just tell everybody. Yeah, or, at least most of those things. All of them. As always, we've been Cady and Cady. Bye.
So you're gonna give me a spin on that thing, right? The time turner?
No.
Why not?
Because this is a highly volatile object that changes the course of time and space.
Okay.
Alright. Behave. I'll be right back.
Okay. This is so dope. Okay. Nice. Nice.